Hey, everyone, let's go. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Blonde Blitz. I'm your host, Deb Whitcas. We are officially halfway through the 2024 NFL season. How can it be? What a wild ride it has been. We're going to talk all about it. Frank Nicotero from Punchlines with Frank Nicotero at the South Point Casino Hotel in Vegas joins me for Week 9 Hot Takes. Fantasy Sports League champion and author of the new book, The History of Fantasy Sports and the Stories of the People Who Made Them. Larry Schechter is here to talk all about it. Of course, you can't talk fantasy without talking sports betting, right? Handicapper Alex White joins us from Vegas as well for this week's Best Bet. HGTV designer to the athletes, Shay Holland joins us to talk away team hotels and the team's requirements for those hotels. And finally, Ben Troupe had to take the night off, but Brian Snow from Snowman in the Morning radio show is here to help me with Week 10 picks. All right, guys, shall we get it started? We're skipping headlines this week and getting right to hot takes. Frank Nicotero.
Hey, what's going on, Deb? She look, she's doing a face mask.
Hi, Courtney. I'm like, Halloween is over.
Came around the corner. She's like, yeah, sure. I'm just like, come in here very quickly. Sorry about that. She blitzed me. She brunette blitzed me.
Blitzing. Courtney's blitzing. Frank, so you and I used to do a show together called The Steagles.
We did.
Yes.
Yeah, the tribute to the Steelers and Eagles during World War II when they had to combine franchises. And yeah, that was our two favorite teams. You're Eagles, I'm Steelers.
Yes, we had a blast. Well, and you know, the Eagles obviously had a good game last week, right?
I did.
Your Steelers had a bye, but yeah, I mean, Saquon Barkley, that backwards hurdle. Can we discuss that?
Yeah, we have to discuss that. The shots that we've been showing this week on Punchlines, which you can find at Punchlines with Frank Nicotero on our YouTube channel, Frank Nicotero Punchlines. But anyway, so he does this backwards thing. Now, Najee Harris does it all the time.
You love.
Bijan Robinson's done it a few times, but backwards was something we had never seen. Now, the thing I love the most is there's some great fan footage of the reaction of the bench. I'm sure you've seen where they're like, what did we just witness, right? Yeah. So I have been saying all week, this will be copycatted, and I anticipate this weekend. So my candidates for doing this are possibly Najee Harris as he runs over the Commanders to help your Eagles in the standings. Mm-hmm. I also think here's the person who I think will do it. Oh, God, there's a dog on the television.
Scooby agrees.
All right, so the person I see trying to do this and emulate this is Tyreek Hill, because he hasn't had some headlines in a while. I can see him trying to do this over a player and not working out as well, although he's athletic enough to do it. Yeah. But if you haven't seen the clip, ex-Eagle Freddie Mitchell kind of did it at a Home Depot store. Have you seen this yet?
No, I've not seen it. I did
Freddie
see
Mitchell, who was the first round. Yeah, he was a first-round pick for the Eagles a long time ago. Okay. And he does this, and he has like a paint roller, and then he tries to jump up, and he falls back and hits the ground. So you can Google it and see it. But yeah, athletically, it's amazing. We've always known that since his Penn State days. But to actually do that in an NFL game, have it perfectly timed, that's something we won't see for a long time. But I do think Tyreek Hill will try to do it, and there will be serious injuries to his ass or his somewhere, I don't know. But it was an amazing play. I mean, it is jaw dropping.
Right. I mean, and Devontae Smith's one-handed catch. I mean, there was a lot going on in that game. And obviously they won it, but you know, I feel like it was despite Nick Sirianni's horrible play calling. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the thing. The Eagles are 6-2.
I know.
People complain. It's like, oh my God, they must be, like the.
All of these like, fire him.
any team will take 6-2 in week 8 right now. Now you look at the standings and you see the top of the standings, Arizona, you see Atlanta, you see Detroit, you see Washington. 5 years ago, you would think something happened to all the other teams for this to happen. But I think the Eagles are fine. Sirianni, going after the fans, that's a dumb move, especially in Philadelphia. Right. Play calling, I get it. They're 6-2. They're going to start, leave them alone for a while. I think that's a good football team over there. I think they're still in the top 3 in the NFC. I really do.
They are. I mean, I think they are too. But I mean, would you have he went twice.
Yeah.
For the 2-point conversion.
Well, they have that stupid chart and they look at it. And I give it the old eye test. I mean, you kind of want to see the momentum and the rhythm. So, look, they're 6-2. That's bottom line in my opinion.
Okay. Well, and last week also talking about head coaches, the Saints, who were 2-7, fired head coach Dennis Allen after they fell 6-7, and then they lost like 7 straight games.
Yeah,
I was shocked though.
Yeah, well, they started out here. Let's just get back in the Wayback Machine for a second. They started 2-0.
Yes, and having the top yardage,
40, 50 points a game, right?
Yes. Yep.
I had the argument on the show with Alex White, who I understand will be on this program later. Tell Alex I said hello. I had the argument that right now the MVP after 2 weeks in the NFL is Derek Carr or Sam Darnold. One of these guys. Sam Darnold's still doing okay. Derek Carr. Dennis Allen, I don't know if you saw this stat, but he now holds the distinction of being a coach fired by 2 different teams with the same starting quarterback. When he was fired with the Raiders, Derek Carr was his quarterback. Now in New Orleans, Derek Carr, he's fired again. Something insane. I mean, Derek Carr, sorry, not David Carr. David Carr is his brother.
Right.
Derek Carr, if he loses this year to the Raiders, he'll have lost to all 32 teams. So, I mean, Derek Carr, everyone says, if he's on a good team, if he's in a good program, he could be really good. But I think Dennis Allen, I think this is a classic case of one of these guys who's made to be a coordinator, probably not a head coach. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you look at guys like Kingsbury with the Washington. I almost called them their old name, the Commanders. Yes. Some guys just, are better. No, don't say that word, Courtney. It's the R word. She almost said. She's Native American. She can say it. Go ahead, yell it out loud. She yelled Redskins. But anyway, I'm grandfathered in. Don't sing Hail to the Redskins. But anyway, the Saints, I think it was time for a change. The team, I love their uniform so much. I was a Saints fan growing up. They're one of my NFC teams. So it's sad to see them start so hot, but just look so bad now. So, and the Cars, David. I get it. I'm getting them confused.
Derek and David.
I want to see Steve Rattler, I don't think. But
right. I was just shocked they did it now. Like it's not that common that a coach gets fired in the middle of the season. Like it's happened a lot with,
He must have just lost that locker room or something. I mean, to lose 7 in a row. Yeah, I agree. Like maybe give the guy some time. I mean, but they obviously knew something inside that just wasn't clicking or working. But that's 2 teams he's been fired from. So I don't know.
Who do you think gets fired next? Which head coach?
I'm surprised Doug Peterson. I thought Doug Peterson was going to get fired when he lost to his former team.
Yeah. And right. They won like a week ago, and I was like, that game just saved it. Doug Peterson.
Right. Well, they won. Was that one of the games in England? Because I'm like, if he doesn't win, he's not going back. Yeah, he's not getting. They're not going to allow him on the plane. He's going to be stuck in England, and he'll become Ted Lasso coaching soccer or something.
I think Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat too. I mean,
Mike McCarthy. I mean, he should have. Honestly, I think look, I hate the Cowboys. I don't mind seeing them lose all the time. Although somehow they beat the Steelers this year. But anyway, McCarthy, who is he's from Pittsburgh, but when he was the coach of the Packers, they beat us in the Super Bowl. I think he should have went 2 years ago. So Jerry Jones just, I think he stayed with Jason Garrett too long too. So, he has a loyalty thing, which is respectable, but in this day and age, sorry, a fly just flew into my face. I just think I probably would have let go of McCarthy already.
Yeah, I agree with that too. All right, moving on to Kansas City versus the Buccaneers. That game, the Buccaneers Kansas City beat the Buccaneers 20-24 in overtime. It was an amazing game. Should the Bucs have gone for 2 in the last?
Well, there were 3 games like that. The Rams in Seattle, where a team scored in the final minute, and then the Patriots versus was it the Panthers? No, Patriots.
Yeah, it was.
No. God, no, Titans. It was the Titans.
Who did the Panthers? Okay.
It was the Titans. It was the Titans versus the Patriots. We're going to go with that. Someone check. But anyway, all the teams that didn't go for it. Yeah, I think you go for it on the road. You're playing an undefeated team. You're playing Patrick Mahomes. I know that Coach Todd Bowles afterwards said, oh, well, weather was a factor. Well, weather was a factor the whole game. Baker Mayfield, you got a veteran quarterback. It's not like you have a rookie out there. He knows what to do. He could have scrambled around a little bit. He had 2 great running backs, Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. I think a play could have created to get the 2 or 3 yards and take the lead and most likely the win, because look what happens. I mean, if you lose the coin toss, which I'm sure the refs kind of were in on that because it's the Chiefs, probably fixed it for them. But, they never touch the ball and they lose the game because Kareem Hunt goes down and scores a touchdown. So I might have went for 2 in that situation. They're 4-4. They need a victory desperately to maintain in that division with Detroit and Minnesota. So I would have went for it. I mean, obviously Monday morning quarterback, but I would have went for it. And Seattle, I think they're playing at home. I don't think you do. And then, then Matt Stafford throws that unbelievable touchdown. So, I don't know. I normally get to overtime, right? But with the overtime rule, if the team scores a touchdown instead of a field goal, good for you. But I still want that format. I guess the playoff format, the teams get the ball each once. So they got to do something. It's just not. It's not. I mean, you knew Patrick Mahomes was going to go on and score touchdowns.
Right. Exactly. I mean, everyone knows that. That's what Patrick Mahomes does.
But the line was 8.5 or 9. So if you had Tampa Bay, you didn't give a crap because you knew you were going to already cover. So you were fine.
Okay. Moving on to the Commanders. They play the Steelers this coming week. Do you think they're going to take the NFC East?
I would still say that your Eagles do. I just think experience. I think people are going to have to adapt somehow to this. I mean, look, Jaden Daniels is a great story, but last year C.J. Stroud did the same thing. Beat the Steelers early. This year, Jaden Daniels, we're expecting it, right? And we're coming off a bye week. And Mike Tomlin after a bye week is like Andy Reid. He knows what he's doing. And if you look at Mike Tomlin's history against rookie quarterbacks, it's ridiculous. C.J. Stroud being the exception, but they took them lightly last year. And we had Kenny Pickett, who's in Philadelphia now. So I think the Steelers win this game. They're getting 3 points. The Steelers are underdogs. I think Washington.
Oh yeah, they are underdogs. Yeah.
I think Washington's a good team, and I've liked watching them play. Mm-hmm. I think the Steelers win. I think Washington's in it till the end, but I just feel like the Eagles have too much talent, too much veterans leadership on that team. I would still think Philly does, but I mean Washington makes the playoffs, and it's nice to see. I mean, look, I like when some of my rivals are good. Like as an Eagles fan, you probably don't mind Washington as much.
I like Washington. I love Terry McLaurin's one of my favorite. I think I say this every week. I love.
He's awesome. Look. I like McLaurin. I'm never going to say a good thing about the Ravens ever, but the Browns, I almost feel sorry for. If they were good and competitive without the quarterback, that's their starting quarterback. I don't mind Cleveland. I have a lot of friends from Cleveland. I feel bad for Cleveland, but I don't know where we were going with this, but
we were talking about the Steelers Commanders game.
Oh yeah, Steelers are going to win.
Steelers are going to win. All right. Tell me, Frank, a little bit about Punchlines with Frank Nicotero.
Yeah, we do it Monday through Friday. We're live right in the sports book. There's a TV studio right at the South Point Casino. Come see us. We're the southernmost on the Strip. And it's this fun show that we've been doing for over a year. Every day, I put a lot of work into finding creative viral videos. We have a great rotation of co-hosts. Alex White does Monday and Wednesday usually. Tuesday, we have Matt Neverett, who's his dad, Tim Neverett, does Dodger games play-by-play. And Matt is now the voice of UNLV football and UNLV basketball. So a really qualified guy, funny, smart. And Fridays, we have Jeff Parles, who's been at South Point longer than me. He does Sports by the Book, which is the really analytical show. And he lets loose and gets a little goofy with me on Fridays. But the show is a blast. It's high noon in the desert every day, lunch with Punch. You can watch us 12 to 1 noon Pacific. So if you're back east, tune in at 3. But you can find us at Frank Nicotero, at Punchlines FN on all social media. Or you can just go to Frank Nicotero, and there's links everywhere.
All right, Frank. What do you have? Anything coming up?
No, I'm just doing some shows around town. I have. It's next week. God. Okay, I was like, is it?
Do I have a show tonight?
No, God. I think it's. Oh God, is it? Oh, I don't. I got to check my calendar.
You go check your calendar.
Oh, God, it might be. But anyway, I'm around all the time. And when are you coming back to Vegas? When are we going to see you
I
again?
want to come like next month or maybe January. We'll come and see
Good.
you.
All right. Sounds good, Deb. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here.
You got it.
Talk to you soon. All right, guys, fantasy sports is ingrained in American culture as much as apple pie and baseball. All right, did you guys know that more than 50 million men and women play fantasy sports? That's a crazy number. My next guest knows all about it and has even written a new book. It's called The History of Fantasy Sports and the Stories of People Who Made Them. Guys, please welcome Larry Schechter. Larry,
hi, Deb.
How are you?
Good.
Good. So
Glad to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here. When you reached out, I was like, I would love to have you on the show. It's perfect because we do a fantasy segment. How and when did your interest in fantasy sports start?
Well, I lived in Boston. It was about 1991, maybe, and I was just driving around Boston on my way somewhere, and I heard an ad on the radio for something called World of Sports.
Okay.
Sounded very interesting, so I checked it out. Turned out to be a fantasy baseball league that this guy started a company offering leagues. And back then, they did the draft on a conference call, which is very unusual. And actually, it was kind of, I mean, in 90s, like pre-internet, so
yeah,
conference call was like a big thing if you couldn't get there in person. So that got me hooked immediately on fantasy baseball, and I quickly started playing fantasy football and then fantasy basketball.
What time? Like, how many leagues have you been on, like, over the years?
Well, usually baseball, I've been in maybe 5 to 10 leagues a year, and same for football, maybe 5 to 7. I don't do basketball anymore. I gave that up a while ago. It's too much. Yeah.
Okay.
So some people play in like dozens and dozens of leagues, and
I'm in one and I can't handle it. I get mad. I struggle. I might need a tutor, to be honest. If you tutor, I'd love to take you up on that. But so 50 million people play fantasy sports, right?
Well, that is just in the U.S.
It's just in the U.S. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the U.S. and Canada is something like 60 million. Wow. That's also just adults. We're not counting kids.
Okay.
Lots of under 18. Yeah, that's age 18 and up. But lots of under 18 play fantasy sports.
And why do you think it's so popular?
And it's worldwide too now. I mean, here's something that will blow your mind. I think it blew my mind when I heard it. 200 million people are playing fantasy cricket in India.
And cricket is the most popular sport in the world. It beats soccer. It beats football by a mile. I actually used to cover some cricket, so I know that. I was shocked to find out. But yeah, cricket is the most popular sport in the world.
Yep, and then there's fantasy soccer is really big in Europe and South America, so it's a worldwide thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think fantasy sports is so popular?
People just love it. When I started writing the book, I thought nobody has ever written the history of fantasy sports. How did we go from ideas people had years ago to where we are now with, as we're talking about, this worldwide multi-billion-dollar industry with millions and millions of people playing. So I decided, somebody needs to write a book like this because it's never been done. No one knows what happened. So when I started researching and interviewing people, I learned all kinds of amazing stories of what people did. They were like fascinating, some were inspirational, some bring a tear to your eye, lots of funny stuff. And that's where I got the subtitle of the book. The subtitle is "And the Stories of the People Who Made It Happen," because that makes the book really interesting. It could have just been like the history of fantasy sports, tell who did what when, and it would tell the story, but it'd also be like a boring research paper. So telling the story for the people has made it fascinating. The reviews are fantastic. People say it's just interesting, easy to read. They love it for the most part. And as I was researching and interviewing and writing the book, one thing that really stood out, like as a very common theme, is how much people love fantasy sports and the relationships it builds. You got people who maybe started a league in college and they're still playing 50 years later, they're still playing in the league together. And otherwise, they might have drifted apart, like a lot of people after college would drift apart or after high school. And you got fathers and sons, mothers and daughters playing together. You got co-workers that ordinarily wouldn't interact with each other very much. They're made to talk about it. You get, there's a fantasy football draft in Las Vegas where you have a plumber at the draft table. Sitting next to him is the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and the two of them are talking like they're best buddies.
Yep.
So
fantasy sports is bringing people together.
Yeah, it's like a cultural phenomenon, really. Yeah.
That's so interesting. And you mentioned your book, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But you're obviously very qualified to write. You have 2 books, and obviously very qualified to write those. You've won several league competitions. What have you won? What are your titles?
I won something called the CDM National Baseball Challenge, which was back in 2002 and 2005. I won the overall competition. There's about 15,000 people competing in that each year. And then I won, there are 2 fantasy baseball experts leagues. One is called Tout Wars. The other is called Labor. It's sponsored by the USA Today. And I've won those several times.
Okay. What and how much money have you made?
Well, the Labor and Tout Wars, there's no money involved. It's just all for pride and bragging rights.
Okay.
When I won 2002, 2005, I beat thousands of people to win the CDM challenge. That got me $25,000 each year, which is kind of pathetic when you think about it now. You got now there's like much bigger prizes for winning leagues than $25,000. So my timing was off. I should have waited till now to win something.
Right. Well, and you, like I said, you've written 2 books. The first one was Winning Fantasy Baseball, and then also obviously the history of fantasy sports. What was your motivation behind writing those books?
Well, for Winning Fantasy Baseball, I was regarded as one of the best fantasy baseball players, and I just decided to write a book about my strategy. So, that was just about me, just about my fantasy baseball strategy from beginning to end. And a lot of it also applies to other sports, fantasy football or whatever. That was 10 years ago in 2014. So now my new book, The History of Fantasy Sports, which just came out in May, completely different, not about me, not about my opinions or ideas. It's all about, as it says, the history of fantasy sports and the stories of the people, that did everything.
What's your favorite story from the book?
I have literally dozens of favorite stories. And if you say inspirational story, funny story, other categories, but I'll give you a couple just that come to mind. One is, there was one of the first statistics services when people used to have to do all the statistics for fantasy sports by hand. It would take the commissioner hours every week. And when computers came around, some people got the idea I can use a computer to do statistics, and they started services. One of the first statistics services was run by a couple, Jim and Gloria Berger in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And what you did then is you would get the for baseball, you get the American League statistics out of the USA Today on Tuesday and the National League statistics on Wednesday. And Gloria would read the statistics, Jim would enter it in the computer, they calculate all the results, mail it to their clients. So one Wednesday, Gloria went into labor with her first child. And they didn't let that stop them from doing their job. So in between contractions, Gloria would read the statistics and Jim would write them in the computer. And then she'd go, hold on, I got another one coming on. Hold on. Okay, it passed. And she'd continue. And they got the statistics out on time. And the daughter that was born that day, 37 years ago, now plays fantasy football in a league with her dad.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, one other random story, which I'm specifically mentioning for you because I know on your website, I saw on your website, you're going to start selling some merchandise.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually, okay. Well, this might give you an idea because there was a woman named Allison Lodish years ago. She started a group called Women Against Fantasy Sports.
Why?
Because this was women who were not real happy that their husbands or boyfriends were spending so much time with fantasy sports. And she started this group. It was like a Facebook group, and she had a website, and they would kind of commiserate with stories about what their jerky husbands or boyfriends were doing. And among other things, she sold some merchandise. and she sold T-shirts that said, "I thought I was your fantasy." And her best-selling item was women's underwear that said "Clothes for the fantasy season."
Oh God. That's awesome. I love that. Maybe
Right.
you guys should do some blonde Blitz underwear. What do you think?
Yeah, clothes for the fantasy season.
Clothes for the fantasy season. That's amazing. It's so true though. But now I think more women play. Like I think my fantasy team is like half and half. So yeah, I mean it's super fun and honestly too, my fantasy team, I'm on a gym, like it's the gym I go to. So and we text and everything, and it's super fun. I'm losing, I'm doing horrible, but I'm making friends. And like what you said, back to it's the people around you that we all have a common thing. We all love football. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. What so fantasy can be very intimidating, I feel like, at least. What is your best advice for someone who's just starting out, who wants to do fantasy but doesn't know how to do it?
Well, I mean, I guess you could read my book, Winning Fantasy Baseball, and you can kind of, if you're not doing fantasy baseball, you can kind of skim through it and see what applies to other sports. It's really, it's basically, about preparation. You got to know the rules you're playing under. You got to establish a value for a player, whatever sport it is. We know what statistics you think they're going to produce, and translate that into the exact value of production they're going to have. And
I want to get your week 10 fantasy picks, but my last question, what is your preparation like? How do you prep week to week?
Well, it depends. I mean, week to week is a lot easier. I mean, the biggest prep is before the season, going through all the relevant players, and as I just said, try to figure out what their value is going to be, and where to draft them or how much to spend if you're in an auction league. That's the most prep is preseason. So during the year, again, kind of depends what format you're playing, but during the year, most of the decisions are easy. Like most of your, like a fantasy football team, most of your players, unless they're hurt, are you've got a lot of people you're just going to start every week, no matter what the matchup are in, unless they're hurt. And then usually, you probably have a couple of close decisions. Like, you got a couple of your third or fourth wide receiver or something, or kind of close in value. And you got to look at, okay, who's their matchup this week, or is the weather going to be an issue? And, kind of make a usually there's a few tough calls every week because it's like so close of a call.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's funny. The draft got me this year. I was doing something else. I did a half auto draft and a half regular draft. And then like Puka Nakua got hurt the first week. Like I had him, was super excited. So yeah, fantasy is very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm doing very well in my pick'ems. I'm like number 2, but fantasy I'm doing horrible. So Larry, where can our audience purchase your book, most importantly?
Okay, the easiest place is Amazon. If you go on Amazon, you'll see all the details of what's in the book, lots of reviews. It's available in paperback and Kindle. If you don't like Amazon or Kindle, most major booksellers' websites have it available paperback and ebook. But if you want to see, it covers everything from the beginning, the ideas people had years ago, through the invention and spread of fantasy football and fantasy baseball, and the first websites, the first publications, radio shows, right? Everything through today. But all the details are on Amazon, and lots of reviews.
Awesome. It's so interesting.
And actually just throw into it, anybody who plays fantasy sports will love the book. So if you play fantasy sports, get the book, either buy it now, get it on your Christmas wish list. If you know somebody who plays fantasy sports, it makes a great gift. One of my friends who got the book, he said after he read chapter 2, he bought 3 copies to give to friends.
Yeah, that's what I'm buying it for myself because I need to learn, and then I'm going to buy it for friends too. I'm not going to buy it for my fantasy team, no, or for the people I play with, because they're
that's the difference. Like my first book, Winning Fantasy Baseball. If you're in a baseball league, you don't want to give it to your friends in the league.
Right.
But this is not about strategy. This is about the history and the story. So you can get it for everybody.
There we go.
Even people who don't play fantasy. A lot of people who don't play fantasy have loved it because it's more about the stories of what the people did than fantasy sports.
Got it. All right, lots of stories, guys. All right, what are some of your picks for week 10?
Oh, I haven't really gotten into it that far yet. It's only Wednesday, but if I have to name somebody, I'll say Justin Herbert and George Kittle.
Okay.
And that's from like a daily fantasy sports perspective.
And why?
Based on I just kind of took a initial quick look at DraftKings, and their prices were pretty good for what they've been doing lately.
And when do you usually prep? Do you usually prep on like Thursday, Friday? When do you make your choices?
Well, this year I started playing daily fantasy sports, which I hadn't done before. So it's mostly on Saturday, like the day before. But then as far as like season long, Friday, Saturday, just got to, make lineup decisions. And there's free agent. Usually most leagues have free agent acquisitions like around Wednesday. You got to spend some time on Wednesday to figure out if you want to try to pick up any free agents.
Got it. All right, Larry. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Guys, everybody go get the book. I know I am for sure. It'll be a great holiday present. So, Larry, we'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, guys, we can't talk fantasy without talking sports betting, of course. Coming to us from the South Point Casino in Las Vegas, betting expert Alex White is here to give us your best bet for week 10.
Hey everybody over there at the Blonde Blitz, it's Alex White here from the South Point studio. Thanks for having me back, Deb. Everybody, hope you had a great Halloween. Some really good games on the slate here for week 10 in the NFL. Some good division games. We'll see how the Cowboys do, but they are hosting the Eagles. We've got a good AFC South matchup, and we've got the Chiefs and the Broncos. But there's one game that I really want to target, and it is the dog of the week. Pittsburgh Steelers going to Washington. Now, I've enjoyed this Commanders team as much as everybody else. Jaden Daniels, so much fun to watch. But now you're giving me 3 points with the Pittsburgh Steelers off a bye week. Tomlin, he's historically really good against rookie quarterbacks. I think this number is wrong. I think it should be more like a pick. Both teams added some guys before the trade deadline. And now we've got Russell Wilson. He's got another target with Mike Williams. Take the 3 points. They're a great defense. It's going to be the best defense that Washington has seen all year long. And Russell Wilson has been a great addition for this team's offense. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for having me again. I will see you guys again next week.
Thanks, Alex. You can catch Alex on Punchlines with Frank Nicotero on the South Point Casino's YouTube, as well as Sports by the Book, and on IG at Alex White with 2 E's at the end. All right, guys. Next, we have Shay Holland, HGTV designer to the athletes. Shay.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I got a little note here on the private chat with my producer that you weren't on camera. I was like, wait, what's going on? But here you are.
You know what? My signal dropped out for just a second. So if it happens again, I'll have to use my phone. But yeah, having a little bit of technical difficulty there.
It's been a day, right? I feel like what could go wrong went wrong, but
I think it's the wind. We're having those wonderful Santa Anas that we have here in California. And then I think I was waiting we did have a video of what we're going to talk about. So maybe you can introduce it.
Okay. So we're going to talk about away team hotels, right? And
yes, we're talking about where the NFL players stay, both when they're on the road and surprisingly at home. I don't know if we'll be able to get that video. Maybe we can put that in the chat. If so, I wanted you guys to see some examples of where they stay, just so we can all feel a little bit of envy, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, where do they stay?
Well, it's interesting because there's usually elevated luxury hotels is, I guess, how I would put it. And those are hotels like, say, your Westins or your Four Seasons, which are really nice. Here in LA, they stay at 2 of the different Ritz-Carltons. We have a Ritz-Carlton downtown, a Ritz-Carlton in Marina del Rey. So there's a variety of hotels that they'll stay at, and it just depends on the team's preferences.
Right. Well, it's interesting we're talking about this because I actually stayed one time in Phoenix with the Eagles. I was actually lucky enough to actually stay with the team. I had my own room.
That's a good thing.
I had to make that clear. I had my own room, and we stayed at the JW Marriott when we were playing.
That's on the list. Yes, that's a very popular one.
And it was amazing. We were kind of hanging out with some of the team members by the pool before, they came in like a day or two before the game. So they were just kind of chilling, because they like to relax before the game. So yeah, the team's definitely like the luxury. But like who chooses where everyone stays? And
the teams, all of them have a big crew. I mean, this starts well in advance of the season. As soon as the schedule comes out, they are working on where they're going to stay, both for, like I said, away and home games. And just imagine trying to move up to maybe 130 or 160 people, like almost, especially if they have back-to-back away games, because you've got all those players, you've got your coaches, you've got your staff, you've got your medical facility people that handle all that. So it's a huge amount of people that they need to move. So one of the big factors, of course, then is going to be size. And some of the teams might try to book an entire hotel, or they'll at least book off their own floor so that they have the security who's coming in and out. Yeah, the whole floor. Yeah.
Entire floor. And it's interesting you said about how many people. I'll never forget when actually the team arrived, you knew it. And it was just people after people after people loading in the hotel. And we were out in the pool and we just watched everyone walk in. We saw the big guys come first, obviously the athletes, and then the staff. And then also, some of their wives and families also were with them as well. And I think one thing that people might find strange and might not know about when teams go away, the teams are required to stay in the hotel the night before. They have a curfew. NFL actually gives them a curfew. So that was something I found weird. And there was actually a security guard that was walking up and down the hallway after 10 p.m. I was loud out because I wasn't playing, but like up and down the hallway. So, and that's for away. And then also some teams do it for the home games too.
Yeah, they definitely do. And I mean, because the last thing you want is your players out, even if they're not partying, there can always be trouble. Or like the other night, I literally ran out for probably 30 minutes, and then we were locked out of my neighborhood for 3 hours due to an incident was going on. So you don't want your players to be dealing with that and the stress of that. You don't want them obviously getting arrested the night before if they get in a fight. Look at what happened with Jason Kelsey last weekend. He gets in this encounter with a fan who's just. So sometimes people try and goad him if they're out.
Got arrested before he was speeding to the game, and he got pulled over and got arrested right before. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah. So the hotel policy is not it's to try to prevent those kind of things from happening. Because they want them staying close to the. One of the deciding factors on these hotels too is the proximity to the stadiums. And like in Vegas, they try to keep them away from the Strip, but close. Which. Really, probably everybody needs to stay away from the Strip if you've got something important going on. Right. So that's another one of those factors that will come in. But just imagine, it's not just, all these bodies you've got to move. They're moving all of their gear, everything from their helmets, their shoes. You've got, I think they said 20 to 30,000 pounds of equipment, which sounds about right. I mean, that might be too high, but it's somewhere in this ridiculous amount of equipment that they're also having to move every single time that they have, that away game. And so then they need the meeting rooms. And so that's why these hotels tend to be bigger. The night before, they're also going to be going over more film. They're going to be having meetings about their plays and everything. And so a lot of hotels just simply can't accommodate. And just imagine trying to feed these guys. You've got, I mean, these are, like you said, Deb, some of them are, just enormous guys, and the amount of food that a hotel has to have the ability to feed them. And so there's just a lot of, I was blown away at looking at the coordination that goes into trying to move a team, whether it's for a home or an away game.
Yeah. And can fans, can they actually come to the hotel and, get autographs and such? Is that permitted?
Yes. It used to be that was really easy to do. And, but now with security, it's a little bit harder, but there's actually tours that you can find online. If you just Google, NFL player hotel tours or something like that, there's companies that specialize in renting out the same hotels, renting rooms and getting you tickets to the games too. Now, I will say these are hugely expensive, as you can probably imagine. But kind of one of those bucket list things. If you have your favorite team, like I heard, your friend on there earlier saying he's a Steelers fan. Well, that would be an amazing gift if you have a couple extra $1,000 laying around and want to see, kind of maybe try to see your players as they're coming in the hotel. You're staying at the same hotel as they are. So a lot of times you might see them coming in and out of the lobby or something like that. You're going to be able to go to the game, and so it really is one of those amazing experiences that has gotten a lot harder just because of security purposes. But you can sometimes find online sites that have maybe the hotel options. So they may not say exactly what hotel. Like, for example, we have, I think we have the Dolphins coming in to play the Chargers at SoFi this weekend. I may have the team wrong, but somebody is coming in to play the Chargers. And there's only about 4 hotels where that team will stay. And then the Chargers themselves, I will tell you, we know that they often stay at the Ritz-Carlton in Marina del Rey. So you might want to check that out, or, just get a little spy over there. A lot of times I will tell you secrets that we use as journalists. We'll ask a doorman to give us a call if he happens to see something. And a lot of times they will. You'd be surprised at kind of what some of the service people do. We're not even TMZ. TMZ will pay them a lot of money for those kind of tips.
Right. I do know San Francisco used to stay at Shade in Manhattan Beach. And also there's a Marriott in Manhattan Beach that I know is very popular with NFL as well. But
Yep. And the Ritz-Carlton downtown LA is another popular place for them to stay. So it's just, like I said, there's not a whole lot of hotels. So eventually you'll be able to find where your favorite teams are coming and where they're staying at. And it really is, it is one of those great experiences. And then if some of the coaches I'm sure have long-term suites at these hotels too, residential suites that they might book for the whole season. I worked for one company, and even for myself, we had long-term suites at the hotel because we would constantly have to be there. And it was so much easier to not be having to pack your stuff every single weekend or every single couple of days back and forth when you had like a home stretch or something. So some of the coaches probably have these amazing residential suites. I don't know if we have that video, but I did put a couple of those shots on. They usually have these great views of the city. They're very relaxing places. They have all the amenities from your gym to your spa. Not that they have a lot of time to use those, but they're available if they want them.
Now that sounds amazing. It would be amazing to be able to watch a game from there too, right?
Yeah. Now that would be an experience. They do have those suites, down at SoFi, but as far as I know, you can spend the night there yet.
No. Well, what if the fan wanted to kind of get the same experience at home, like that luxury experience to watch the game? Do you have any advice on that?
Oh my gosh, do I? I'm telling you, because I think some of us need it after what's been going on the last couple of days. I think we were up all night watching the returns coming in. So I was like, man, I need a good
Everyone's
hotel.
just a little bit off today, I have to be honest, between tech
I know. Under the eyes and everything. But, but it's also something that has been it's trending in the interior design world, is how to get that hotel luxe, that spa luxe at home. And one of a couple of easy ways that don't cost any money or maybe very little. One is we call it editing on my side of the business, more popularly decluttering. And one of the reasons it's so relaxing at a hotel is because you don't have all your work papers sitting out. You don't have all your kids' toys that you're tripping over, and you don't have all of last night's dishes. And so you just want to reduce the amount of visual clutter and the things that you see around you. And that's one easy way. Get extra storage if you need it, or just get big baskets for the kids' toys. Throw that stuff in there. Get it out of your visual sight. And that's what the players do. And that's why they want them to come to the hotel, is they want them to be able to focus. And the focus, it's a lot easier to focus when you have that simplicity around you. Another easy thing is with a lot of the hotels where the players stay, those hotels have their own online stores. You can actually buy maybe some of the spa products. You can use I love the way a hotel, like shampoos and everything else, smells. Most of them, they have like a signature smell oftentimes.
Showers.
Now you're making me really, really
I want to go to a spa.
Yeah. And so you can actually buy those products and use them at home. You can buy the same bedding. In fact, I'm getting ready to buy. I was at a hotel a couple of weeks ago, and the pillow, first time I had a hugely comfortable hotel pillow. And I thought, I got to buy that for home because it was so comfortable. So you can actually buy the stuff that are available at the hotels. Some other ideas real quickly. We had our guest on from an NFL Family Dynasty a few weeks ago, Robin Graham. Instagram, and she was talking about in her house, for the player, because she's got so many players at home, everything is bigger. And that's actually a key to these hotels. Or really any luxury hotel, if you go in your room, part of why it's so comfortable is, again, there's not a lot of small little knickknacks and accessories. Everything's a little bit overscale. And so even the lamps, for example, are a little bit bigger. The chairs are a little bit more plush and stuffed. And so those are things to look at when you're doing a home, if you really want to kind of bring that a little bit of hotel luxury in. And for the players, because most of them are often bigger than the average person, that adds to their comfort level too. And that's partly how these hotels are chosen. So those are just a couple of ways and things that you can do. You could, bring in your team colors. If you look at, I don't think we're going to be able to play that video, but one of the things I put on is even when they're traveling on the flights, a lot of times they'll have like little pillows and their blankets or throws or whatever that are in the team colors. And those are just easy, and then they can, so nice to travel with.
Wear your team colors and still be really comfortable.
Yes, exactly. So so it's a great experience if you are able to kind of find one of these teams or go on one of these tours. Like I said, it's going to cost you a couple grand to do it, but definitely worth it.
All right, Shay, thank you so much. Always such a good time with you. I love it.
I
Where
know,
can I find you?
About all this. Yeah, anybody can find me at Shay Holland Official. And I think I'm going to have to go give myself a little bit of a spa treatment at home now myself.
I will call you after we're done. We'll go somewhere together now.
That sounds good.
All right, Shay, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. All right, guys, we've got game picks. Week 10, Brian Snow, Snowman in the Morning. Get on in here.
Hi there.
Hello, how are you?
Better.
Guys, Brian had a little bit of a rough day. I think all of us did, but he's back. He's here. We're talking football. We're talking week 10 game picks. Let's do this, shall we? All right, we got Bengals versus the Ravens. Thursday night football tomorrow. Snowman, what you got?
Ravens in a runaway.
And why?
Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. They're still a little mad from losing to Cleveland.
Yeah.
They ran over Denver. There's momentum. And, there's a little bitty place we like to call M&T Bank Stadium.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
Ravens in a runaway.
Yeah, I'm going Ravens too. Bengals, they've won the last couple games, but just haven't been looking great. Obviously, AFC North showdown here. Ravens are favored by 6.5. Here in my notes, I've got the Bengals are 4-5. They're third in the division and 3-1 on the road. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. Ravens are 6-3, who are 3-1 at home, and they've won 6 of the last 7 games. Just some stats for you guys. Jackson has completed 66.2% of his passes for 2,379 yards and 20 touchdowns this season so far. You add Derrick Henry to that, who has already surpassed 1,000 yards. We're only halfway through the season, guys.
Yep.
Like, what? So, yes, Ravens are winning this one. No questions asked.
I mean, they're running away. They're going to literally run away from the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think this puts an epitaph on the Bengals season.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so much hope for the Bengals this season, but they just have not delivered. At all. 49ers versus Buccaneers Sunday at 1 p.m. What are your thoughts?
This ain't going to be close. Christian McCaffrey is back.
Yes.
That's all that needs to be said. And McCaffrey's going to run angry.
Yeah.
Do not be surprised if McCaffrey plays only 3 quarters and surpasses 150 yards, and then Isaac Orendo does this thing. This is not going to be close. This is all about the 49ers regaining the NFC West lead in a runaway.
I have to say, though, I loved the Bucs game against KC last week. It was and I have to give props to Carrie. So I had a intuitive reader, and she did tarot cards, and she nailed it. She was like, "It's going to be a tie. It might go into overtime. It's going to be the game of the week." Like props to Carrie, because she got it straight on. But all of that happened in one exciting game. Casey obviously won in overtime, but I thought the Bucks played a really good game. But I think with San Fran coming off a bye, the Bucks played on Monday, so they're going to be tired. 49ers finally getting healthy, and like you said, Christian McCaffrey's back. So, and the Bucks are also still without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. So,
yep.
Yeah, I mean,
and that San Francisco defense, second half of the year, it's happened the last 3 years. They're about to return to the savage defense once again. So I got San Francisco, and this. Matter of fact, my daughter Cheyenne gave me this, so this should answer your question.
I know you're a San Francisco fan, and they're favored by 6.5 too. So I feel like San Francisco is going to take this game. All right, moving on to a popular theme this show: Steelers versus Commanders, Sunday at 1 p.m. What are your thoughts?
Jaden Daniels gets 350. The Steelers are going to get a surprise. I got Washington in this game. It'll be close. Steelers will keep it close, but it's going to be a surprisingly high-scoring game. But I have Washington pulling away.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. Nobody tell Frank I said that. Frank, if you're still listening, love you. But no, the Commanders have the NFC best right now. They got 263 points. They've got a great red zone offense. They're more poor defending it, though. And the Steelers are below average. They're the opposite in red zone. But
aside of that, Russell Wilson is their quarterback. That should tell you everything you need to know about this game.
Right. Well, I mean, the defense, the Steelers' defense is good. They've only allowed 119 points this season. It's second best in the AFC. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be a tight game. I liked what I saw from Russell Wilson recently, but yeah, last week they had a bye. It was the week before. But yeah, Commanders are favored by 2.5. I agree with that. It's going to be a tight game. I'm still going to go Commanders. I'm
going Commanders.
Okay. All right. Eagles versus Cowboys.
I made her leave the set.
Woo!
There's your answer.
There we go. Yes.
The Cowboys are going to get buried.
Yes.
They're gonna get buried. One thing I love about the way the Eagles are playing right now, they're starting to figure it out. There's still part of me that believes that Sirianni is holding back this team, but it's an NFC East matchup. Absolutely. It's the Dallas Cowboys, and they need to pay them back for the past 2 seasons. Eagles are flying up. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Fly, Eagles, fly. My one question, is Dallas really that bad?
Yep.
I mean,
when you can't run the football,
3 at home, and they've lost 3 straight, and Dak is hurt.
Aside of that, we talked during the offseason leading up to the draft. What's the one position they needed badly that they didn't take care of? A running back. And they didn't. Jerry Jones did nothing. Nathan, nada with this team.
Nothing.
And you're seeing the end result. And you're seeing the end result.
Yeah, and the trade deadline too. They did nothing in the
nothing.
They did nothing.
I mean, you're talking about a Cowboy team that had the 49ers on the ropes. All right? Niners holding on to a 6-point lead. Dallas has the ball. Dallas has more weapons. You would think, they'd find a way to methodically move the ball down the field. Nope. 4 straight long passes, all of them incomplete. Niners and Isaac Guerrero, and watch out for this rookie. He's going to do something sensational in the second half of the year for San Francisco. Guerrero and company run out the clock. That was their season. That game, everybody, all the hype leading up to that game. Cowboy fans were talking to me during that week saying, your 49ers are going down, right? I said, okay, try again. 21-point avalanche in the third quarter took care of that. Look, fly, Eagles, fly. And they're going to fly away.
Yeah, I agree. Dallas needs to start praying and find God at this point, especially with Barkley doing backwards hurdles and Smith catching.
That was insane.
So Jaden Smith. What, Deb? What are you talking about? Jaden, I'm excited. Jaden Hurts looks great. Finally, Nakobe Dean saved that last, with the interception in the fly Eagles fly for sure. And the Eagles are favored by 7. I agree with that. All right, moving on. Let's do one more. Lions versus Texans Sunday at 8.
Oh.
Yeah, CJ Stroud let me down last week.
Jared Goff versus CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud lost to the Jets. The Detroit Lions are mean as hell, but doggone it, on the flip of a coin, and only because this is in Houston, whatever the over is, take it.
Yeah.
It's a literal toss up between these two. It's a toss up between these two teams.
I think the Lions are going to take this.
Look, I love the Lions and what they're doing. My official pick is the Lions, but Houston's going to give them hell.
Well, I mean,
at
CJ
home.
Stroud does play better at home. I mean, we know that, right?
Houston's beat up at the wide receiver position, but Lions will win, but it's going to be a struggle.
Well, and also too, the Lions are on the road 2 games in a row, which is tough. But and Houston too, the wide receiver Nico Collins might be back, so we'll see. But Aiden Hutchinson won't be there. He won't face CJ Stroud won't face as much pressure against the pass rush because Aiden's not there. But I don't know. I still think the Lions take this. They're favored by 3. Goff just broke records, so I'm going.
Man, Jared Goff is having an MVP season.
Yeah,
I'll put it out
there.
My
fantasy. I have him and Mahomes on my fantasy. How I'm losing my fantasy league, I have no idea. I've got of the top quarterbacks in the league, and I'm still losing.
I don't know how you lose. I don't know how you're losing either. That's like the 1 year, 98 when I played fantasy football. My quarterbacks were Peyton Manning and Steve Young.
Right. Well, I had Puka Nacua, and he was hurt. Now he's back. Yep. But who else did I have?
Brandon Ayuk.
I had Brandon Ayuk. I had Pacheco. Like I had everyone who's hurt. So I'm doing what I can do. But
we all
guys,
are.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. Guys,
appreciate
Ben will be back. Of course, Ben will be back next week. And guys, remember, today's show is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Go to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code BLONDE, and we will double your deposit for $100. If you like tonight's show, please subscribe, and you can follow us on all socials. It's at The Blonde Blitz. Football forever, guys. We'll see you next week.